How to easily generate leads for any business. That's what we're going to cover in this quick video. I'm going to show you how to use the SwiftCloud landing pages system. And now landing pages versus your website, you want both of them. It's not an either or sort of thing. You need the website to create gravity, and that's trust and authority within your industry. So for somebody for a more complex sale, if it's a one-off and you're selling something like acai berry weight loss and it's just a quick hit, sort of like in and out, or they already trust your brand and they have a single intent, like they want something specific. Let's say you'll see marketing from these large, well-established brands that have spent millions of dollars on marketing. In that case, then the website has already created the brand gravity. Anyway, you get the idea. You need both a website and you need a landing page. A landing page is best when people want a specific thing, and the website is better to create trust and sort of your overall brand mission and that kind of thing. So think of one as your storefront, and then the landing page is like them honing in on a specific section looking for a specific thing, and maybe even like a salesperson taking them by hand and sort of guiding them, to use a popular analogy. So what we need to do is, the basic agenda here is O2E, offers to eyeballs. We want a really compelling offer that is delivered then to the correct people, multiplied by your brand gravity. Your brand gravity is, of course, your trust and authority, that kind of thing. So the flow is basically, we're going to start them at a traffic source. That could be something like Facebook, or it could be cold email, it could be SMS, it could be whatever traffic method you choose. The question is, like, where is the human attention already flowing? Then you want to bring them to your offer page. That's what we're going to create here in just a moment. And that's it really should be a shy yes, stick a toe in the water. I don't really trust you, but I do want this outcome. That's kind of the space we're going to be. So in retail sales or in e-commerce, that's called a tripwire offer. You want to make a low-cost shy yes. So you see this with like $1 trials, or take a free trial and try free for 2 weeks. That's essentially a tripwire offer, where it's allowing somebody to get a little taste of your product, right? If that's applicable. In some cases, you can't do that. In the case of, let's say, car sales, it's test drive, right? Come by the lot, make sure you're pre-approved, test drive the car. That's their agenda. If you're in the case of producing leads, let's say you sell some offline service, let's say it's business funding, let's say it's real estate, let's say it's financing, something like that, then your shy yes is maybe a how-to. It could be like how to get X, right? And we're going to cover that in just a moment, and basically just dive into it. So next, what we have to do is think about, like, what is the next step in the journey. So as soon as they've been captured on the landing page that we're going to create, then we have to decide what's next in the journey. It could be like dumping them on your scheduler so that they schedule an appointment with you. It could be that you upsell them with more information. You're asking them not to pay with money. You're instead asking them to pay with time and attention and information. So let's dive into it. So what these landing pages can look like is a bunch of different templates. In SwiftCloud, there are better landing page generators. Ours are designed to be incredibly simple so that they're super fast, so that you just focus on testing the offer and getting the headlines built. And then if you're already doing, let's say, $100,000 a month on something like these, then you probably want a more advanced system. Those systems are going to be much more complex. But at the beginning, is really more about the offer and about testing the offers quickly. And so that's where SwiftCloud really excels. Another look you can do is, this one's in e-commerce. Notice we've got a customized color, and you can customize the colors and the logos and stuff like that. So let's dive into this. So first things first is you want to get logged into SwiftCloud. This is your main page. On the left side, you'll see Drive, what looks like 3 pancakes. That's a database icon. Click on Drive. Get to a page of something like this. At the very top, click on Add New. I do have a custom asset that's just for demo purposes. I'm in a testing account here called Boat. You can create custom assets. For help on that, see our other videos, but in this case we want to click on Doc. Up here you've got a bunch of different doc types. You can't see me clicking, but basically up here you've got up here we want to drop that down to landing page, right? And so what you want to do then is come up with some headlines, and the best recipe as a starting place is always, do you want to solve pain X or do you want outcome Y? So do you have a headache, or do you want to how to lose weight and get a washboard stomach, or get a six-pack, or something like that, right? So in this case, we'll set up one, let's say, for business funding, right? Something like this. So in this case, we'll just create one. In this case, for demo purposes, I've already kind of created some of these things, so let me just skip ahead. But basically, you want to give it a name, and then it's going to think for a second. It's going to drop you into a page that looks basically like this. So in this case, what I've done is I've called out to the audience, here's who we're speaking to. Then, do you want outcome Y, right? Do you want to solve pain X, or do you want outcome Y? Without either their most common reservation, or the biggest preconception they have about this, getting this. If you can address the most common one, that's a good recipe, or their worst fear, right? So whatever their worst fear is. In this case, without expensive liquor store owners only, grow your revenue in 5 steps without expensive marketing agencies. Then what we do is make a little free report that we're going to deliver here in the pink box, and it's basically just a web page. And one of the 5 ways is make sure you have enough capital to have a mix of like high-end inventory with wide margins and events, right? And kind of build a sense of community. That could be one of the 5 ways. And people like these lists because they're really easy to digest. They're easy for you to write and just makes a good blog article. So what you do is just kind of write something up and then stick it right here in the email. One of those things, of course, should be your, like, how to reach your objective, and then you are, of course, part of that goal, right? So in the case of business funding, obviously you need to make sure and have enough capital. You want to have some premium product, and then you want to have a sense of community, and so that you have, let's say, premium Scotch tastings, and so you do events, and then that'll bring a higher-end clientele who are willing to drop some money on, buying that $80 bottle instead of the $20, gas station special kind of thing, right? So that's just one method, right? So having enough capital, having the right product line, having a sense of community, these are kind of, at the end of the day, a lot of your business agenda can be met in something like that. So now let me slow down a little bit and show you a little bit about how to use this. Your goal, again, for generating leads is always just basically compelling offer. Has to be so compelling that somebody would be a fool not to take advantage of it if they're the right people. And then you have to deliver that to the right people, right? So O2E is offers to eyeballs or offers to ears if you're on radio or in video, something like that. Multiplied by your brand gravity. Now, brand gravity, your trust and authority, that is built over time. Think of that as like bricks. So at Keller Williams, what they want to do is they want to touch people 8 times in 8 weeks. They have a system called the 8x8 touch. So you meet somebody at a bar or at a party or at the soccer field or who knows what. You want to touch them 8 times in 8 weeks, and it should be a mix of modalities, a mix of methods. So let's say it's like 4 emails and 2 snail mails and 2 phone calls, right? And that's so that you stick in their brain, and that's just to establish you as brand gravity. I say that because regardless of whatever your industry is, you need to have that, you need to build that authority, and you need to build a mini brand. And I say mini brand because at the beginning, your brand might only exist in the minds of, let's say, 10 people or 10,000 people or something like that. You want to start with 10, then you want to go to 100, then you want to go to 1,000, then 10,000. Eventually you'll get to that big household brand where millions of people recognize you, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to start small. So you want to kind of make a beachhead, and that brand is created in the minds of your consumers. Okay, so back to the actual landing page and sort of how to use it. Now let me go through this really quickly. So at the very top, this is where you have your main headline. And I purposely left up a good starting place recipe. Learn the X, 3, 7, 5, 1 critical step to getting whatever their goal is, or avoiding, right? How to avoid, getting fleeced in your next car accident, right? Let's say that you were generating car insurance leads. Something like that. How to, 3 critical steps you must do on the scene, right? In the case of business funding, let's say it's business funding, then it's learn the 3 critical problems to solve holding back your business from growth. Well, one of those is, of course, is making sure you have enough capital for marketing, for hiring the right people, that kind of thing, without either their number 1 fear, either their worst fear or their most common fear, ideally. And you can sometimes even layer them together. You could put 3 fears in there if you wanted to, and you can kind of play with this. And then here you want to put a little bit more information and tease out some sort of call to action. So in this case, it's, can you join us on this recorded webinar? Well, in this case, we have it set to e-commerce mode. And what you do is you actually create your e-commerce products here. So you can see this drop down. You can choose from different things. We also have a scheduler. So there, if your goal is to get them to schedule an appointment into your scheduler, set an appointment with you, then that's a little bit of a higher ask. Make sure that you probably don't want to start in with that, because at the very beginning of the customer journey, nobody wants to feel sold. So they don't want to talk to a person yet, unless they're in severe pain. Now, if you're selling, let's say your landing page offers payroll rescue, right? Same week payroll rescue, super fast funding. In that case, you might want people to get you their bank statements as quick as possible. I would actually make a form. And then what I would do is feed that form into a page that upsells them with more information. So you're asking them to upsell not with money, but with more information and more hassle, because at that point you want them to upload their bank statements, that kind of thing, right? So what we can do is make a landing page. In this case, if it's going to businesses, then we want company. We might not need this. The fewer fields of information, like if you're not going to actually call these people, don't ask for phone, because it'll increase your throughput and your uptake ratio because it's less threatening to them. Again, remember, these people are at the beginning of the customer journey typically, and they don't trust you yet. So you want to make it really easy, and you want to reward them, and you want to over-deliver so that they feel like whatever they paid, even if they only paid in information, they got more than what they paid, right? So if they bought something for $10, you want to give them $100 in value if you can, so that then they're like, hey, this was a great deal. What else you got to sell me, right? Now they'll spend 100 and you want to give them 1,000, right? And then they'll spend 1,000 and you want to give them 5,000, right? And kind of keep that going so that the right clients kind of ascend up the value ladder, to put it that way. Down here, this is a pretty typical body editor. In the pink box, that's where you decide what's going to happen next. So in this case, I have it set to just dump them on SwiftCRM.com. Well, that's kind of not cool. Instead, what we should do is change that to get them to another doc, right? And in this case, it could be right, OTO1. Let's say we wanted to sell them a kit for $29. One thing about lead generation, there is something called a self-liquidating lead. And if you can get your leads to buy something small and make a financial investment, you're much more likely to close them, and it can help you recoup your ad cost. Now, the downside is you got to have something actually valuable to sell them, and furthermore, that has to be really valuable. Like if they spend $20 to buy it, they need to be really happy with that purchase, otherwise they're not going to become an actual lead. That said, for certain things, let's say HVAC leads, right? You want to produce HVAC leads or something like that, then it can be a wonderful way to sell them some part or something like that, or even a how-to guide for, $7 or something like that. If it's real estate, it could be some sort of low-cost offer related to it, or it could just be that they, that's just one system, and what's right for your business is going to vary by your industry. You can also decide, okay, so in this case, this whole pink box is really for them. It's all about them. What's going to happen after they are captured by this page? You do have different modes. You can do what's called kiosk mode, and the system will reset. That's used for a tablet, typically at a trade show or in an office, like a dentist office or something like that. We do have stay on the page, but see a confirmation message. It's not terribly common, but it's sometimes used for really basic information, or if you're going to be, let's say, again, passing something around. One thing about kiosk mode is it'll try and suppress the autocomplete. Right? And so if you're sending this over the web for people and you just want a simple page to capture some basic information, then I would encourage you to use stay on the page. If you're going to actually have this, let's say a shared device, like a tablet or something like that, a kiosk, then you'd want to try and suppress the autocomplete so that people aren't seeing the information about other people or potentially even other patients or something. Stay on the page, but download a file. That's typically used for, frankly, for PDFs, like if you want a free report or something like that. But actually, I have never once used that. I think we built it for a client that wanted them to stay, but frankly, I would just instead, there's always some way to send them to some other page. It could even just be a confirmation page and then include the actual attachment as a link in the email. But it is an option. Forward them to an e-commerce item. That just sends them to the actual checkout page, and then forward them to an e-sign doc or an electronic signature or something like that. That is actually the most common, what I typically use when I'm setting this up for clients. So we'll usually send them to something that ascends them. So in the case of business funding, if that's your business, then we always want them to give us more information. You want them to give us your bank statements, your credit card receivables, a copy of your business license, whatever these types of things that you need to actually get the deal done, right? That's what you're going to ask them for. And will some of those people do it? Some of them will, some of them won't. Some of them, keep in mind, but that's okay. At least you're clarifying. Sometimes that's just a trial close, and you're sort of letting them know, here is the next step. Even if you're not ready to take it, it's still sometimes helpful to tell them, here is the next step in the sale. Some of those people are just going to need a little hand-holding. They don't trust you yet, right? And sometimes they haven't even reached the emotional commitment stage where they've decided to get business funding in that case, or to list their house for sale, or to, put mom in assisted living, or who knows what, right? Whatever your business is. So you can also send them an email, which you can customize down here. So this doc signed, in this case it's a landing page, so they didn't sign anything. So you can customize all of this, and this should be a bit about your business and some sort of engagement and sort of teasing them and pushing them to like whatever the next step is. So this is also where you'd put a link in the case of business funding to a link to upload their documents. And because again, they might not do it right then, but if you email them, maybe they'll do it tomorrow or a couple hours from now or something like that, after they've, let's say, thought about it, or maybe they don't even have access. Maybe they filled this out on their form and they don't want to, on their phone, and they don't want to mess with it right now. So you always want to kind of tell them, whatever that next step is. I would also encourage you to use our sequence system. We do have a video about that. And so all you have to do is just click this little plus down here. It'll think for a second. And what will happen is you'll get to another drop down that looks something like this. And so in this case, I have it set, I have different sequences. And those sequences, ideally what you want to do in the case of most lead gen industries where you're making an offline sale, you want to hit them a bunch at the beginning and then put them on a long-term indoctrination. So let's say it was listing their house for sale. Let's say it was getting a reverse mortgage. Let's say it was getting a business funding. Let's say it was getting financial services. Any of these types of products they have some interest right now, and so you want to really stay in touch with them for the coming, let's say, 1 to 2 weeks, and really stay in front of them every couple days. And then if they haven't made a buying decision within 2 weeks, then you want to switch them to something like every 28 days. Notice I purposely use 7-day increments because whatever day they filled this out on is probably a good day to stay in front of them. So if they filled this out on a Sunday, then Sundays are maybe a good time to reach them about this matter. Whereas some people, if you try and reach them on a Sunday, they're never going to pick up, right? It's just, personal preference and that kind of thing. So, I hit that plus and it eventually did show up. You could even remove them from a sequence. That's used for a qualification sequence. So what you want to do in that scenario is, let's say that you're building a sales army. And we have a whole case study about that. It's on the website. What you want to do is get them to fill out an initial application where they express interest, and then you want them to take some longer, deeper dive into your company where they fill out some additional form. So when they fill out that second landing page and they say, I'm seriously interested, then you want to remove them from the first one. So let's say in the case of business funding, you would actually want to remove them from the, hey, go give us your docs. As soon as they have actually taken that action, you want to stop bugging them about that, right? And so you would remove them from a sequence called, in this scenario, you put them on Indoctrinator, and then, make a sequence called Give Us Your Docs, right? And that's just literally what you could call it. And then you would, on the second landing page, the one where they actually upload their docs, that's where you'd want to remove them from Give Us Your Docs, and instead put them on, hey, we got your docs, ball is in our court, we're going to be in touch, we're working hard, we do the shopping for you so that you don't have to shop. Your goal is at that point for them to stop shopping, and you want to make it clear that you're going to be doing the shopping for them. So, and you also want to deepen engagement, start to prime them for making referrals, for different types of financing that we offer, talk about, let's say, SBA or factoring or something like that. Now the blue box is all about you. What do you want to happen once this has been filled out, right? So I hit the little plus here, and the system will eventually, it's a little slow today, give you an option of additional, we've got a bunch of different options to I'm just speeding through it just to show you. But you can basically notify, you could email multiple different people. So if you set up a landing page that was specific to a channel or specific to a sales rep, then what you could do is have them get notified so that you and the sales rep in that scenario get notified. And by the way, at any time, if you want to, you can just go down here and click save. And oops, I don't want to send it. If you click save, you'll see an option called save a copy. So what you can do is you can make, let's say you have 3 people in your company that are, you and 2 other sales reps. What you could do is save a copy and give each rep their own sales page. You can also look up tracking URLs on our help system. I'm not going to go into it here because it's just slightly more complex. You just have to append rep equals or referred by equals John Doe, right, to the end of the URL, and then that'll get captured and sent through. And we have a separate video about how to do that. But basically any page on SwiftCloud can be sales rep tracked, and even beyond that, sales rep tracked and channel tracked. So you could track this lead came from Craigslist and it was attributed to John Doe, and their sub-affiliate was Jane Doe, right? Something like that. Down here is the actual URL. If I wanted to, I could customize this, call our liquor store profits, right? Something like that. And in this case, it says no, can't do that because I already have it in the other window. But in this case, so that's good. It's doing exactly. So now it gave me a little green check telling me that URL is available. I haven't used it before. And so then once I have that, then I can copy this, and then that's what I'd want to post on, let's say, Facebook. If I wanted to run a Facebook campaign, just post that URL. Make sure and pay attention if you do that to this featured image. So what I want to do is pick out a featured image. In this case, I'll go grab the picture of the money, right? So the system will think for a second, it'll, cycle back around, it'll create the image in here. Anyway, what'll happen is when you post on Facebook, it will pick up that featured image, and so it just saves you a step, right? In this case, I have this funny video of Ron Burgundy doing something, but down here is the actual featured image. So now if I were to go on Facebook, I'm in the demo account, so I can't do it from this window, but basically go paste that on Facebook, it'll pick up this image and then include a link to that. And so we'll be continuing to work on that. We do need to put in here a custom URL generator where we should, ideally, as part of, this is a little more advanced, but I just want to help you get a landing page as quick as possible. But really, ideally, what you should do is also include tracking URLs. And the reason for doing so is you want to track what are my leads cost per lead from Facebook. Well, in order to do that, you have to include tracking URLs. So it's not that difficult. You just have to know where to look and basically feed this information into a different system called tracking URLs. So for information about that, make sure and see our other video. We have a whole video about that system, and it's continuing to, our campaign system, it's right over here, is continuing to get improved. For today, I'm going to just keep it simple and keep it like this. So down here, you do have different options. I do want to draw your attention that we do have a couple different templates, right? So we have dark branded and dark unbranded, and that's branded is going to have your logo and unbranded will not. And in some cases, it might be helpful to not show your logo because you just want people to focus on the headline. And we have corporate. That's we are over time and marketer. Over time we are rolling out more landing pages, and we have a bunch of different landing pages that are not structured as a landing page. The whole momentum form is incredibly powerful, and it's designed to just show one little bit at a time and establish momentum. So it's really powerful for sales and really for use as a landing page, but it's technically done as a different type of page, just as an eDoc. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is the tags, and what you do is you just type in a tag and then hit tab. If you're on a PC or a Mac, you just hit tab. The tags are particularly useful for just for internal use. They do not show to the client. So basically, I'm just loading the drive, but basically here in this case, I have it tagged as liquor store. And then what I could go up here is, go up here and look for liquor store, and it'll show me all of the assets that are related to liquor store that are tagged with liquor store. Or I could also just type in landing page. So in this case, I have one asset that's tagged with liquor store. Tag score, we have a whole separate video about that, but that is really useful for assigning values to things. So you could use that with your clients, for example. I could put in, this client's good for does $456,000 a month in cash flow. Right? So, and that's just an example. You could also use it like how many times have I done this, or how much did I spend on the campaign, or whatever. If you want to, you don't have to, but you have an option to assign values to tags. Okay, so on the landing pages, just wrapping things up, we have 3 different main types, which are data forms, like web forms, right? And that kind of looks like basically like this, right? And you can choose what fields you want to include. The more fields you add, the less throughput you will get. So you can put in custom fields. So the way that you do that is up here. So you set this to on form, click on add new, and what you'll need to do is this is tied to your custom field system, right? And so here I don't have it turned on, but basically what you can do is in the settings, you can do that. Again, don't do it unless you really need that information, right? And so just be aware that the more fields, the more hassle you ask clients to go through, the greater the desire they have to have in order to jump through those hoops, right? And because you're asking for more information from them and more hassle and more trust. Okay, so we also have the scheduler. To do that, you just go from the main drive, you just go add new and create a scheduler. Now, a scheduler is typically like a person. In the case of business funding, it would be for a given sales rep. And then within that, you create services. We have a different video about that. Yeah, but and again, you wouldn't want to probably start with that because nobody wants to be sold. So most people are not going to start in that state. But it's a great follow-up landing page to give people. E-commerce, that's also similar to this one, right? So you can have recurring, you can have one time, you've got different options, right? So hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, I didn't talk about how to add a video. So to add a video, what you have to do is just pick off the last little portion, right? So I didn't really talk about this, but right up here is a little blue pen. And if you click that, you'll see that throughout. This is how you change the color of the background. Right up here, this little blue thing. Down here is where I just paste that, right? So I've already done it. And then just hit this little green check, and that'll load the video into the space, and then that's how you end up with this video here. So videos are a really powerful way. Frankly, it's a lot easier to get somebody to watch a 2 or 3 minute video. And what you can do is just grab your phone, right? Just grab your phone and go through the 5 whys framework. The 5 whys are why listen, like why should I listen to you? What's at stake? What do you care? Like I'm going to show you how to get more leads, right? That's a why listen. We started with that. Then we go to why care. What's the impact? I want to grow your business. I want to help you get the financing your business requires. I want to help you sell your house for the highest dollar possible, something like that. That's why care, right? So why listen, why care? Why us, right? It's like, why am I good to tell you about this? Why change, and then why now? Right? So basically why change is like there's a better way, and then why now is like why do I need to take action right now? So that's the 5 whys framework. Again, that's why listen, why care, why change, why us, why now. If you go through that on a video and just make a short little video that's, let's say, 90 seconds. I want to help liquor stores get the capital they need in order to quadruple your revenue, and I'll show you 4 other secrets in addition to the capital on how to explode your revenue, right? And how we did it by doing scotch tasting events and then cognac events and stuff like that, and whatever. You know, it's just like one possible. If you deliver value to them that's specific to that audience, they're going to be more likely to listen to you, and your intake is going to be higher. Because again, people don't want to be sold, right? And then you got to also be thinking about like, are you catching this person in market? Well, if they, in the case of business funding, if they just got a merchant cash advance last week, they're not in market, but you still want to produce them as a lead so that 6 months from now, when they go to refinance that, or you want to clear that one out and get a different one or something like that, then you're in front of them. Maybe you've established a open line of communication, right? So sometimes give some thought to like, is there any right fishing bait? Right? That's kind of the analogy that we're using, is like whatever bait is whatever's going to work with that audience, right? And then whatever's best for your agenda. I can't tell you that, but we've given you some recipes. So hopefully this has helped you. If you want a deeper dive into any of these, by all means, let us know. We can take a deeper dive where I'm a little slower and less caffeinated, and that's a little bit more how to use every single button. We also will have a separate training on the whole campaign system, but that does not necessarily impact the landing page. You don't need to use that. You can still create a landing page and then get that out. My goal with this video is for you to just start creating leads as quick as possible. Once you have the basics and you're kind of walking, then what you can do is, start to look at, all right, what does running look like? And what we want to do is we want to start really small. So at the beginning, I want you to spend, like if you're running ads on Facebook, start really small. I mean like $10 a day, something, $5 a day, $10 a day, something like that. And what I really want people to pay attention to is like spend just $100, and how many leads did you get? If you got 2 leads, okay, great. Your cost per lead is $50. Now you can go out and if you know what your closing rate's going to be, let's say your closing rate's 1 out of 6 or something, you spend a couple $100 to verify and validate that information. Now I want you to go spend $100,000, right? Because you know you're going to put in $100,000 and get back $600,000 or whatever the case is. But you test all the numbers really small first, right? And then you prove out the numbers. Pay special attention to all the numbers, so once you know the numbers work, then you can spend big, and you'll scale up your profits. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Happy to help. Thanks.